I have an Asus ROG Strix X570 Crosshair VIII Hero non-Wi-Fi motherboard. It's about 2.5 years old, and the the chipset fan has started to make noise. I contacted Asus Technical Support, and they flat out refused to sell me or sell me a replacement fan, and told me I could RMA the motherboard, and that was my only choice. Not wanting to do that, I decided to try to take small parts of the motherboard apart to see if I could get at this fan. It turned out I had to take apart the whole computer and part of the motherboard. This is the end result. This is the label on the fan that's attached there that's causing that noise. It's a Delta Electronics fan. It's DC brushless, model KSB0405HB. Directly below that number, there is also the letter 7JD, which apparently is also important. But it is impossible to find. I have not been able to find a replacement fan for this. This is a picture of the other side of that fan, of the rotor. This is the rotor of the fan. So from here, I will show what I had to do to get at this fan. This is the motherboard itself. Up at the top right, there is the graphics card slot, and down below you'll see the chipset fan with its shroud. It's held on by 2 screws. I thought initially maybe I could take those 2 screws off and get at the fan, but that turns out to not be true. Here it is without the shroud. The 2 screws are gone, and you can see there's no way to get at that fan. The entire plastic shroud that's around there has to come off, but there are no screws or way to access that from this side of the motherboard. So I had to disassemble everything, take the motherboard out and reverse it. I have a motherboard tray on the back of this thing, and it gave me no access to that. So reversing the motherboard, you can see there are 4 screws off on the left hand side with grayish circles around them, and those are the 4 screws that have to come out to get rid of that shield protecting the fan. This is a picture of the shield gone, showing the fan with its heatsink and its casing in place. Close up of the fan, you can see the 3 screws that hold the fan blades in place. And here I've removed those 3 screws, and the fan blade, I popped that off, leaving the rotor behind. Up in the upper right side, you can see the 4 wires connected to its connector for the power. And now I have unplugged that connector, tried to slide it out there, but there's just no room. There's barely any room to move the wires, so I'm not even sure if I could remove the wires, if I could slide the wires under there one way or another. So I had to go back to the back of the motherboard. I removed these 4 screws that are in a square shape right in the midst of those 4 gray circled screws. So I removed those 4 and was able to pop off the shield protecting, the casing protecting the fan, and flip that over. This is a picture of the back side of that, and you can see the thermal putty that was resting on the chipset itself. And that is the chipset right there. Again, back to the picture of the label on the fan, the KSB0405HB7JD, and here is the other side of that. I'm not sure if any of that information on the rotor is important. The problem is, again, I cannot find a replacement. What I find if I go to various shopping sites and look for that KSB0405HB is laptop CPU cooling fans. They include their own cases for that function. I suppose I could take them apart to try to get access to the fan. The problem is that 7JD is not necessarily what's in there. And if I actually go to the Delta fan site and try to look up that fan, it doesn't exist. They have another variation of the KSB0405HB, and it has a different amperage rating. I'm not even sure about if the sizes match. So right now, I don't know what to do. I have no idea where to get a replacement fan for this. I've seen some on AliExpress and eBay, but they have to be shipped from China, taking a month or two. They cost someplace on the order of $15, a couple dollars for shipping. So it's not a matter of cost, it's just a matter of availability. They don't exist. I thought I'd produce this just to help anybody who is trying to look for some means of fixing this kind of noise and we're wondering what was in there, and hopefully this will help.